behind the scenes with future country rock blues kings and queens. Discover them first with Palm Bash TV. Palm Bash TV.
Well, hello there, it's Palm Bash TV time again. Thank you so much for joining us. We got a great interview coming up shortly. But don't forget about the subscribe button and bell buttons, and you're always going to be notified of any new episodes coming your way. And leave a comment if you'd like on the comment section. We'd love to hear from you. And pay attention to the description part, because there'll be content info there, and content info will also be at the closing credits at the end of this program, so I hope you'll stay tuned for that. We have Cristian Salamanca from Montreal, Quebec, Canada. He's a great artist, I think you're going to agree. And we'll get to that in a second, but first there's a quick word from the Caden Gordon Show, and it all begins right after this.
The Caden Gordon Show, today's best country mix, is a 2-hour show playing independent and mainstream country music you know and love. Be sure to check it out at thecadengordonshow.com for more information on the show.
Okay, we're back, and with us from Montreal, Quebec, Canada today, we have Cristian Salamanca, and thank you so much for being on, Cristian.
Thank you so much, very much, Paul. Glad to be here. It's quite a great invitation. Appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm glad to have you here today. A lot of people probably want to know exactly how it is that you got started in the music business, because everyone has their own story. I'm sure you wanted to be an artist since you were a kid. Maybe it goes deeper than that, but tell us in your own words.
Oof. When I was growing up, I really wanted to be a filmmaker, and I really wanted to be into movies. Quentin Tarantino was like my main guy, up until a little band called Nirvana came and ruined my world, or gracefully ruined my world. Specifically, my love for music has always been there. I've always kind of was a radio freak, kind of one of those kids that, back in the 80s into the 90s, would like put a cassette and like wait for the song you like and record and make like a mixtape for your own self of the songs that you like, share it with your friends, and so on and so forth. And then up till up until like 93, 94, Nirvana kind of came into my world, kind of opened my ears to another type of distortion and riffing. I think it was always the riff, the how Kurt Cobain riffed and uses riffs to compose songs that always was something that attracted me. And from that point on, I learned first acoustic. I first learned the Unplugged in New York album, the last one that came out. That phase was very interesting. It was about a year and a half of learning acoustic guitar first and how to properly sing and play acoustic song. Also during that time, I got to give praise to Oasis and a lot of the mainstream rock bands of the 90s. It was a very beautiful era to be a learning guitar player, to learn just like songs from the radio right off the bat. Oasis, Nirvana, Pearl Jam included. And then if you go on international, there's Blur. And also all this stuff I should mention also. I was born in Montreal, Quebec, but I also lived in Santiago, Chile, South America. And all this influence of the 90s I got in South America. On top of all that was all the influence from South American bands that nobody knows here. Like, I can spit out names and no one's going to know. Los Fabulosos Cadillacs, Los Prisioneros, Café Tacuba. These names are completely unknown here, and that's fine. But also that was part of my influence. And it just came to, during the 90s and my teenage years, up until my early 20s, I was very almost driven to be a better riffer, a better guitar player. Came my grungy years, came my punk years, and then I was firmly into metal. I suppose it had to be the album, like the Sepultura album, Chaos AD, 1993. That was just that was a punch in the face and to my soul that has not been cured. And just that like the riff, it was always the powerful, heavy riff. And from that point on, I started going into like the metal world. And unlike most musicians that were able to continue on into that realm of learning how to play guitar and being in bands, I did not know that till very, very late because, well, I was always poor. My parents were never money driven. Like I never had enough money to buy guitars or strings for that matter. Once I moved from Chile to Calgary, Alberta, Canada, I was living with my uncle. My uncle forbade me from owning guitars, so that backtracked me a lot. And throughout my 20s, I was just more worried about going to school than playing guitar. I had my first experience being in a cover band, and during those years, it wasn't really a good experience because it was very amateurish, and like the drummer was very young and didn't know how to play right. And so that first experience was kind of discouraging to me. Time passes by. I moved back to Chile. I'm pursuing a career in broadcasting. I'm graduated from broadcasting in 2006 from Mount Royal College in Calgary. I worked a little bit of television in Calgary. Then I moved to Chile again, and I worked in television there for 3 years. Once again, ignoring music, but still for some reason, always having a guitar in the background, just riffing on my own, going through the old Metallica riffs, going through the old Black Sabbath riffs. Then I got fired from my career job, from my broadcasting job. And then I just said to myself, you know what? I'm just gonna take the money they give me because they owe me money, and took a little bit like 6 months off, and decided to come back to Calgary, Alberta, pursue another type of education, which ended up me having a bachelor in Spanish and Latin American studies. But between all that, that's when I convinced myself in like my early 30s, honestly, that I may not be rich, I may not be cool, I may not be a lot of things, but I know how to rock. I know how to, I'm metal as hell. I plugged in my guitar, put on my Flying V, went on. And from that came this burning fire, this desire inside to just, I gotta have a band, I gotta be in a band, I gotta learn how to write songs. And that was in my early 30s, like say 31, 32. And that took a long progress to in between all that, falling to depression, getting into relationships, breaking up, barely finishing university, barely finishing, like barely finishing. I was not a good student. My professors hated me and they were glad I graduated, so at least get the hell out of here kind of situation. And once after that, I decided to finally move back to my home city where I was born, Montreal, at age late 30s. I can't remember, 37, 38. And with the sole purpose of starting a band, being in the music scene. When I was living in Calgary, Alberta, there were rumors and noises when I went to a club or heard a show. There's always noises about, oh, Montreal is the new Seattle. There's so many bands popping up. And throughout 2000 and so forth, there were a lot of bands that popped off of Montreal. There was Metric, there was Simple Plan, there was Despised Icon, there was Cataclysm, there was Cryptopsy. These are the metal world. Mm-hmm. And then there's like the more popular stuff. And there is an Arcade Fire for the hipster bands that don't like those type of things. I'm not a fan of that band, but it's a band that got out of Montreal and got big. And so I came back to Montreal 2018 with the purpose of getting in a music thing. And that's when I suppose my big education started, like big time. Mm-hmm. When I also arrived to Montreal, I came back with the idea that even though I know guitar and I kind of more or less had a focus of what type of music I want to make, I pulled myself back in my ego and I said to myself, you got to go to Montreal and learn how to play bass and be a bass player in bands and learn your step by steps, learn how to deal with a band, learn how to get your gear, learn how to be in tune, learn how to be in the pocket, learn how to deal with I don't know, you got an alcoholic in the band, or you got a guy who's really into the wife and you're not putting my time into the band, and deal with all that. Being in a band is, in my mind, it's like 20% creativity, 80% hang. It's just hanging with the person and getting to deal with the person. And so going through all that process, when I arrived in Montreal, I did participate in a Nirvana tribute band. So I was learning to play bass like Chris Novoselic and Nirvana, and I learned how to play bass on that. Then I left that band and I joined another punk band that we were together for 9 months. We were called Consequences. And everything was fine and dandy until, like, again, like I say, foreshadowing a little bit, I had to deal with a alcoholic lead singer who was talking a lot of crap. So eventually I had to leave for other personal reasons. Then came COVID. And during COVID is when I decided, all right, I think I had enough of trying to be a bass player for another band or trying to be a second guitar player for another band. It's unsatisfying for me. I want to write my own music. I have a vision. I have a source. I'm super inspired by the pedal, the Boss HM2, which is the grindcore death metal crust punk pedal from Extravaganza from a lot of years. It has a history of its own. And that pedal and the sound that I can get out of that pedal with my way of playing is what inspired me to, like, all right, screw it. I'm going to start my own band. And there's a first formation of my band, Chuzo, was around mid 2020, and COVID hit. And it was me on bass singing, a Mexican drummer named Rodrigo, and a guitar player from Chile named Daniel. The other two members left because COVID. They can't make it. Okay, they can't commit. Fine. I took the little riffs that we made and was able to compose two songs. And with those two songs, at the end of 2020, that's when I got into a studio and paid money to my producer Kevin Jardin to record me three demos actually, three songs. Two of those would be eventually become songs into my band, and mainly to hopefully like go into the scene or put my ad out there. Hey, I'm a dude trying to form a band. Here's some MP3s of stuff that I've written. If you like it, come join me. And to be completely frank with you, Paul, that's been literally my MO to get all the amazing musicians that have been like one after another that have been through the band on and off. One after another, they're great musicians, and all of them, I can't believe that just my riffs and my ideas can attract these really open-minded people to like help me write my songs, compose, contribute, collaborate. And I suppose again, from that point on, let's say, from early, let's say 2012, when I decided to become like, all right, now I'm for real. And now 2024, that's when I can say I can proudly say with all the drama and the things that came after it, I can proudly say I am a musician. I riff in my own band. I am a riffer. Finally, after years and since my teenage years till now, to finally fulfill this dream of being in my own band and running my own things. And as mediocre as that sounds, I feel pretty fulfilled about that.
Okay, well, that is quite a story there, and I'm glad you're still doing what you're doing. Hopefully, you have many years left ahead of you. My next question was going to be, what are your influences? But you did mention Nirvana and Oasis, which are pretty good bands.
Mhm.
So let me ask you this: I guess we can find all your music on streaming platforms. Can we find you
Yes.
on Facebook? Do you have an official website? So forth. Tell everybody how we can find you.
You can find us on literally almost every platform that matters. Spotify, YouTube, Apple Music. It's Chuzo with a two dots on the U, the umlauts on the U. So that's to make the differentiation to other bands or other associates who may call themselves Chuzo. We are the one Chuzo metal band. You can also get us on Bandcamp if you want to buy any of our MP3s or download anything and contribute to the band. Go to the Bandcamp page. So it's bandcamp.com/Chuzo. And I'm sorry, what was the other questions?
I guess everybody go out to those streaming sites and all those social media
Yeah.
sites and official websites. I guess you got an official.
Oh yeah, websites we don't have yet. No, that was going to say. We don't have an official website yet. We're working on that. And you can, if you can find us on Spotify, you can find us pretty much on any streaming platform. If you want to download MP3s, go to our Bandcamp and you can find us there.
Okay, so do that. I know they would love you for that. And we're getting ready to watch this video. It's called Immersed in Anguish. And it's a pretty good song there. I like it. Is there a story behind that song you want to tell us about?
Ooh, good question. That song was kind of a controversial song. When that song was written, that was a song to replace a previous demo that we were doing for our second demo, Land of Rage. And during our second demo, it was kind of a tumultuous time because the first, I'll call it Mark 1, the first version of Chuzo, the lead singer, bass player, and drummer decided to leave the band and like, okay, I'm in this on my own. I had to find another singer, had to find another bass player. And I have to give a shout out to John DiLala, who is a common friend of ours who I paid him. He's an actual studio drummer. And he did a great job. He came like last minute, learned the songs last minute, and did a great job in laying out the drum tracks. And so what I'm trying to say is that during that time, when we were recording, we had like a few songs that were already written, and then there's one that really didn't fit the mix. I was like, screw it, you know what? I got this other idea, which is much more hardcore punk influence, much more melodic. Let me try out to write something, which I did. And I presented it. And here's a funny story. The previous version of Chuzo Mark 1, when I presented this song and this riff to them, it says, doesn't sound like us. Which made me think, what the hell are you talking about? I'm the one writing the songs. So this song is really, I suppose, come out of left field in the sense that Chuzo is very heavy, very metal, very chuggy, very death metal influence, very thrash metal influence. This is way more punk hardcore with a little bit of grindcore in between. and it's one of literally, I think the longest song we recorded was like 6 minutes. And the other controversial part of it is, if you actually listen to the recorded version, there's an intro speech that has Fidel Castro, and basically that's the controversy, that some of the members didn't like that was Fidel Castro speaking, and I'm just basically pointing out that basically the song is about being in poverty, being immersed in poverty, and never been able to get out, no matter how much you try, no matter how much you get those extra hours, no matter how much you try to kiss ass to your boss, you will never get out of that poverty length and break through. And that's basically the song's about. And so using that speech, which basically at the end says that the exploitation of rich countries must stop, of the exploitation of the poor countries. That's literally what it says. And so that was kind of like the controversy about what was said in the intro speech. Thus, and the video was just cut off. And the other thing is, like, this is the song that kind of represents the transition from Mark 1 to Mark 2, where it's basically, I'm just writing this for myself, and this is a song I feel it has a great, great feeling, has a great, great meaning. And if the previous members can understand it because they were too square or too close-minded in their hardcore world to be open-minded about this, that's not my problem anymore. I'm the one putting on the songs, and then we recorded it. Also got to give a shout out to my previous singer, David, who put on some pretty good lyrics. He helped a lot in putting those lyrics together. And also a shout out to my ex-bass player, Camilo, who put on those very Steve Harris kind of like little bass lines in between. So that's a little bit the story of Immersed in Anguish. It was a song that came out of a little bit of spite. It's very punk, hardcore influence, very melodic. The lyrics are very anthemic, and I feel proud that I've ever had a chance to write it, and I feel prouder with the musicians that were able to make it better, to contribute with again, the drums of John, the bass lines of Camilo at the time, and also the lyrics and the vocal performance of David at the time, which is the Mark II, the version 2 version of Chuzo.
Oh, okay. Well, it is a great song, as I said, and you'll have to check that out in just a second. But before we begin, Cristian, we thank you so much for being on the show today. Come back anytime you want to plug something new. Maybe we'll have you back on sometime.
Okay, thanks so much. And salutations to everybody who watches your show. You're a great interviewer. And thank you. Also, shout out to Danny Rossi for recommending me. Thanks again. And you're doing a great job, dude. Thanks a lot for giving us the little musician in this very big ocean called music a little voice. Much appreciated.
You made my day, by the way, when you told me I was a great interviewer. So,
being honest, I worked in broadcasting. I wouldn't lie.
Okay, well, here it is, Immersed in Anguish, and it begins right now.
Stranded for dead. When all is said and done, you